Many Canadians are growing increasingly concerned about the risks of traveling to the United States following changes in U.S. border policies and heightened enforcement. Joining us today is Heather Segal, a seasoned immigration lawyer with over 30 years of experience. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I want to dive in. What recent changes are affecting us, Canadians, traveling to the United States, and should we be concerned?
Good questions and very topical. I have been inundated. In my 30 years, I have not seen the nature of the calls that I'm getting right now. There's a lot of fear, and there's some validity to it. Not 100%, but there's some validity. Things legally haven't changed significantly, but practically our relationship with the United States has changed, and that's going to translate to immigration. In addition, immigration in the United States has also been changing and their relationship to it, and that's going to affect our ability to cross the border. The biggest change for Canadians that may occur on April 11th is this concept of registration if you enter the United States for more than 30 days. And this only applies to people. There's two criteria. If you enter for more than 30 days and you enter at a land border, you will be subject to registration, and you have to make sure you register. If you don't, there's a $5,000 fine and or 6 months in prison. So this is really important. Now, I should note that if you enter at the airport, you are given something called an I-94. We have always been given this, but Canadians are usually very unaware of this fact. And when you are given it, it is considered a registration. You're actually not physically given it. It is issued to you electronically, and you can actually go on the CBP website and find it. And I recommend people do that because the law will say that you must carry a copy of your registration while you're in the United States for more than 30 days. So it's very important to do. If you Google I-94, you can absolutely, the first thing that comes up is the website, and you can actually, enter your passport, enter your date of birth, and get all that information. And it's very important for Canadians who are registering. But if you're not going for more than 30 days, this does not apply to you.
Okay. And I want to ask too, what if you're traveling there for work? And I ask you this because I once, in the previous Trump administration, was stopped and told I needed a letter of intent to travel stateside. Is that what we have to do now? Should we make sure we've got some written confirmation of why we're going over?
Good question. So the rules haven't changed, but what they're doing is I'm finding there's much more, they're much stricter, and there's always been wide, broad discretion to admitting people into the United States. When we apply to get into the United States, we seek permission to enter. It is a privilege, not a right. But they are taking that very seriously. They are taking their immigration very seriously. And my advice is to carry documentation to support what you're doing. So if you're going in for a business meeting, get a letter from your company saying, I'm going in for a business meeting. The primary concern immigration officers have been concerned about historically and are even more concerned about now in the stricter environment is, are you planning to work in the United States? They ask you, what is the purpose of your visit? It's the first question. And the second question is, how long are you staying? Are you going to live in the United States? And those two primary concerns define the nature of your questions and how long whether or not you're going to get into the United States, depending on your answers. So having proper documentation, supporting what you're doing, answering truthfully, honestly, and simply is probably your best bet for getting in. The other thing I'm recommending to Canadians is travel through the pre-flight inspections. Calgary, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, all have pre-flight inspections. I strongly recommend using those as opposed to the land ports of entry, because your worst possible case scenario at a pre-flight inspection, if you have any issues and you're denied, is you go home.
Yeah.
Whereas,
That's good to know for sure. I want to talk about particular groups of Canadians. Should there be some people who are especially concerned when traveling?
Well, right now, the US has determined that there are only two genders. So people who don't fit into one of those two genders might have a problem traveling. They are not being asked lots of questions initially, but they are beginning to see a line of questioning internally. If you land in Texas or if you cross from Mexico, in areas where they're less tolerant, you might see more problems. And we don't know if that's going to happen. I have heard stories from clients that they're very concerned about this, that trans people may be targeted. In addition, people who are permanent residents of the United States or even Canadian citizens who are born in another country, maybe Iran, maybe one of the 43 countries that are targeted to be on the ban list, which is coming soon, we don't know. Those people might be targeted more and get more intensive questioning and stricter scrutiny. And those people might want to be careful about traveling, making sure they have the right documentation, and travel through pre-flight inspection so they can leave and go home and cannot be physically detained on U.S. soil.
Yeah, no one wants that. There have been stories, I'm sure you've heard them. Are Canadian travelers' phones and electronics subject to inspection at U.S. borders?
Yes, they are. And the Canadian government just put out an advisory to that effect. There is no expectation of privacy at an international border, and your phone is just like your luggage. It can be checked and looked at, and it's up to the immigration officer at Customs and Border Protection to determine if they want to do that. And they are looking for, people who might be working, people who might be staying permanently. But there's been concern recently that maybe they're looking at people who speak out against Trump or who are certain kinds of activists. And we've heard stories that these are the people they're looking at, and they've even denied entry to people from Europe who have had the wrong views of the government. And we don't know if that's going to happen to Canadians. And so my advice is to be careful. Whatever you've said publicly is accessible. We have lots of social media, we have Google, it's all accessible to immigration. And if they are or if they are suspicious about anything related to you, they might go do a deeper dive, and they can do a deeper dive on the public domain, or they can take your phone. They are not supposed to look past whatever is available to them. If it's on airplane mode, they cannot go deeper. We don't know if they will, but they're not supposed to. If they do want to go deeper, and they have reason to believe that they should, they can take your phone and they can download it, and it goes into the US government. And there's not a lot of oversight over what happens to that data when it's in the US government. So if you have anything that you feel is private or you don't want to share, don't bring your phone or prevent your technology from being accessible with that information.
That is so disconcerting, but I appreciate your sound advice today. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's immigration lawyer Heather Segal.